How are you feeling?
Hell of a lot better than I did a week ago.
Well, not surprising, but that's Bernie Sanders in an updated interview where he's actually sort of saying that what we had talked about on the show yesterday about his potential change to his campaign strategy and style that'll be coming up in the near future has been sort of misconstrued. And so we're gonna get to that shortly, but I wanna give you an update on some of what Bernie Sanders is putting out there about his health, his responses to some of the controversies around his health problems, and a new attack from one of the effective political surrogates of a major Democratic primary contender against Bernie Sanders. So first of all, one of the ways that he and his campaign have been attacked over the past few days is saying that they should have, when they initially disclosed he was going to the hospital, they should have said definitively he's had a heart attack. It is wrong of you to have not revealed that for 2 days. And so here he is responding to that.
It felt from a public perspective that there was an absence of transparency.
No, I don't accept that. No, I think that's a media thing. I think that, to try to understand what in fact is going on. I think we did it appropriately. We did it as quickly as we could. No apologies.
So I think that's a strong response. I mean, look, realistically, the fact that we found out he was going to the hospital inside of like 7 minutes of him actually doing it, that's just the fact that we have social media now. And before, you wouldn't have found out about any of this for 6 months or maybe until a history book was written. So yeah, we had to wait a couple of days and then we found out about it. The thing is, I consider myself an expert when it comes to medical science. I've watched every episode of House at least twice. And so I know basically how this thing goes. And it turns out that when you go to the doctor, they can't necessarily just like hook you up to a machine and it says, here's exactly what happened to you. They sort of need to run tests, they need to do stuff. It takes a little while. And I would assume that for Bernie Sanders and his wife, their initial concern was probably a little bit less making sure that like Vox knows exactly what's going on and more that they know what's going on and actually responding to it so that he doesn't like tragically die. That was probably first and foremost on their mind. I understand that people want more information. I'm generally in favor of that. But I do think that some people are harping on the disclosure because they sort of want it to be a bigger deal. That is my perception. You can agree or disagree with that. So now let's turn to the update from what we discussed on yesterday's program with J.R. Jackson. So how is he going to be campaigning going forward now that he's had this health problem dealt with? Yesterday, he had sort of implied that he'd be scaling back the number of rallies and things that he did. Some people apparently have gone too far with sort of trying to interpret what that means. And so he gave an updated quote saying, I misspoke the other day, I said a word I should not have said, and media drives me a little nuts to make a big deal about it. We're going to get back into the groove of a very vigorous campaign. I love doing rallies and I love doing town meetings. So I think, look, to some extent, this is probably, he saw that saying that, like some of even his supporters were probably a little bit disheartened by that. They want him out there as much as he has ever been. And so to some extent, this might be reassuring his supporters that he is not going to be drastically scaling back his campaign. But for those in the more like the mainstream media that are trying to turn this into a new narrative about his prospects, the direction he's going and all of that, he wants to make sure that they don't run just a little bit too far ahead of the facts in this particular bit. So here's a little bit more on the path going forward for Bernie Sanders.
People should think that I had a procedure which hundreds of thousands of people a year have. People should think that according to the doctors, I'm on the way to a full recovery.
So you will go to the debate?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
3 hours standing?
Yeah.
Did your cardiologist say?
No.
Not an issue?
Not an issue.
Yeah, so he's gonna do it. Okay, look, if he collapses during the debate, okay, then you can write a headline about it. But for now, just let the guy get back to his campaigning, okay? He's a little bit busy. But anyway, there is more to this because he wouldn't be doing all these interviews with NBC News and all that, these on the street interviews, if this hadn't become a big sort of thing in the campaign, an attempt, I think, some people to rightfully express their concern for him and his health, and for far more people, especially those working for other campaigns, to basically try to just push him out of the entire race. So I have an example of that as well. So this is a quote coming from Representative Bobby Rush, state chair for Kamala Harris, who said, don't be so egotistical, so self-centered that you want to put the American people and your family into that position where day by day they don't know whether you're going to have another heart attack. You don't want to do that. I'm not saying you should drop out. No, I would not say that. I'm just saying that it's pretty arrogant, self-centered, and to me unsound for the American people to elect him president. So there's a couple of issues that I have with that. So first of all, I can't say whether or not this is sanctioned by Kamala Harris. She has obviously a lot of state chairs, a lot of people who technically are working for her organization. We will see if this is echoed by others, working its way down the chain of command from Kamala Harris. So far, I haven't seen that. But to say that it's egotistical to not immediately retire from public life seems to be going a little bit far. Also, don't speak for his family, saying, I'm concerned about your family. You're not concerned about your family. You're egotistical and self-centered. That's why you're willing to put your family through hell. Okay, that's not for you to say. And what you are saying is you want him to drop out of the race. Have the courage to at least do that. He tried to evade responsibility for that by saying, I would never say that, and then pivots to something that sounds far worse, where he says, I'm just saying that it's pretty arrogant, self-centered, and to be unsound for the American people to elect him president. So he turned from Bernie's being arrogant to his supporters are all being arrogant. His supporters are all being unsound. How dare they do that to the rest of the country? Again, we haven't even been through a single primary, a single caucus. We're still really far out from that. And so this is, I guess he's allowed to be kind of unhinged and a little bit aggressive. That's the whole point of having people below you do these sorts of attacks. It's a trial balloon. See, does this get good play? Does it work out for them? And then maybe you'll see it more often. But unfortunately for them, it looks like Bernie Sanders is just gonna go back to campaigning. He's gonna be at the debate. We'll see. Maybe he'll be a really restrained Bernie Sanders, and maybe now that he's fixed his health problem, he'll actually be back to his full form. He'd been saying he'd been feeling sort of a little bit lower energy because of the apparently incipient heart attack. We can judge now ourselves to see what's gonna happen going forward. Thank you for watching this clip from the Damage Report. For more content from the show and access to TYT Network members only exclusives, go to tyt.com/Brooke. Wait, no, it's tyt.com/John. Go to tyt.com/John to sign up.